And Coach Gardner is working on. Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks for being with us. Gosh, it's a new year already. It's January, and we're in full conference mode as far as playing from here on in. So we'll start with Coach Gary. Had a couple of games yesterday, and he's got home game on Wednesday coming up against Wofford, and then a road trip to Western Carolina on Saturday, beautiful downtown Cullowhee. So bring Coach Gary up first.
Okay, I'll get to the positives first. Before Christmas, we had a really good two-game stretch with Morehead State and Troy. I thought we were played just offense and defense was really engaged. I mean, we were into it. And then something happened when we got back from vacation or Christmas break. The last two start the conference games have not been good. To be honest, we got Sanford. The first half, I think it was a 1-point game, but I still going into halftime felt we weren't engaged, we weren't ready to go. Not about ready, but just our energy level was low. And then the second half, they did a lot of different things. They're a hard team to guard, because they spread you out and do a lot of different things on the offensive end. And then, so we didn't finish that game very well. And coming back, I thought we would respond to that. And to be honest with you, we didn't. Which is we got to get that fixed because Chattanooga is a good team, but we made them look like a much better than what we showed. To be honest with you, so we've got a few days here to get ready for Wofford, who's coming in. We're 0-2 in the conference, and they're 0-2 in the conference. So obviously both teams are going to be needing to get one. So we've got to do that. We just got to be more pay attention to more detail. Concentrate harder. The more you give to this game, the more you're going to get back. So that means, watching more film, not just of what we show guys, but doing individual work to help you prepare for the game. And then we've got to do, our job as coaches and getting them ready too. Some of it is that we've had some injuries. Now James is coming back, Shannon's coming back. And they've got to understand they're not going to come back and be ready to go right away. And so some of that is we've got good dudes. So they want to do well, but they're just playing so fast and not letting it come to them. So we've got to be able to, and I've talked a lot with them about letting it come to them. And we've had Luis out a game with some flu, but I said early in the year, I like our depth. So we've had to use our depth because of these guys being out. But the only way I look at it, were we disappointed? Absolutely. Got our butts kicked. Okay, but the way you got to come back at it is even more determined, work even harder, and then more time you give to it, the more you're going to get back. So I'm looking forward to Wednesday.
You mentioned kind of before and after vacay. Was there a period of break in practice? What do you think made the difference? Did you guys change the schedule at all?
No, we didn't. Yeah, we gave them 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and we brought them back Christmas night because they moved our game up because of TV for the Sanford game at Sanford. They moved it up a day, so that's why we brought them back that Christmas evening. So we usually, we don't bring them back usually Christmas night, but gosh, I've been in this business a long time. You don't get too many Christmases where you don't practice. But I told them when they got back, just let's start listening to the coaching staff instead of listening to your AAU coach or your trainer or your parents, because that happens sometimes when you go home. It's they love you. You know what I mean? They want you to do well, so all they talk about is you. So it's just getting them back in that mindset of this is about Mercer. This isn't about you.
What does a film room session look like after a game like that for you guys? I'm sure it's a lot of you, but are any of your vocal leaders involved there?
Yeah. I don't. I mean, they assume that I'm going to come in and I do say a little bit, but when it's the way it was, where it was an absolute, in my opinion, embarrassment, I want them to talk, because I want to know what they think and what they're feeling, because the easiest thing is to everybody to be quiet there, but we want to get to the heart of what happened. So I allowed them to talk an awful lot. And the more and more you get them to talk, then somebody else will have some courage to get up and talk. So then it just starts a conversation. Then we can get to the real issue. So I was, and when you get your butt beat, I've always been told, like, you get up the next day and you work harder. You put your head up. You got to. I don't know any other way. You know, does it stink? Absolutely, it stinks. You know, but we're going to get it fixed.
How's Luis doing?
He's doing better. He's just. We didn't know he was going to play till that, like, literally, trainer walked in before we were going to go out for warm-ups, and he said he can't. He's got the chills. He's really sick. We thought it was a flu. Couldn't even move. So he stayed in the locker room the whole time. But he's back now. He wasn't great the other night just because, you know, he looked a little sluggish. You could tell he looked like he had the flu.
Coach, down in full-time conference play, we've talked a lot of folks out about how good the conference is this year. You look at, you got Walker coming in, they beat Texas A&M a couple of weeks ago, and then you go to Western Carolina Saturday, and they just beat Furman, who was the preseason favorite by 12. So challenges and opportunities this week.
Yeah, it good for any league, for anybody. I don't care who you're playing. If you're not hooked up, ready to go, you got a good chance of getting beat. So I'm not so much worried about other people. We're going to scout them. We'll have them scouted. We got to get us right, and that's from day, you know, since we came back from that Chattanooga game, that we got to get right. And so it's about us doing what we need to do to get ourselves playing at a high level. Then we can make the adjustments and all that kind of stuff whoever we play. But yeah, the league's really good, like it always has been.
Anything else, Coach Gary?
Awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, Coach Gardner.
Coach's next win will be her 400th at the Division I level. She had 30 prior to going D1 at her first coaching job, but her next one coming up is number 400.
60 before.
60. excuse me.
60.
60 before D1. My apologies.
I'm going to be very cliche here. No matter if we were 15-0 or 4-9, every coach in America says conference is upon us and everyone's 0-0. Have y'all heard that before? So that's what I'm saying today. We have won 7 championships in the last 5 years and 9 total. And the common denominator of all those championships, sometimes we had a WNBA player, sometimes we had a great point guard that led the country in assist to turnover. Sometimes we graduated those guys and did it again the next year. But the common denominator in those championship programs was mentality. And I think that every team is a different team, but if you're going to win a championship, you have to have a certain mentality. And that's on us as coaches, but also it's something that sometimes you really can't coach, but we're going to have to convince our players to bring the same championship mentality that we've had. You know, I've been thinking, about the way the preseason has gone, and if each of you all think about where you say your hometown is, where were you born, and where do you say I grew up here? You know, from Macon, how do I get to my hometown? And some of us could take back roads, some of us would fly, some of us would drive interstate. Well, my hometown is right outside Nashville, Tennessee. So my route is Macon to Atlanta to Chattanooga to Nashville and then right there. And every time I go home, there's a different challenge. Is there going to be traffic in Atlanta? Am I going to get through Atlanta? Now all of a sudden Chattanooga has gone crazy with their traffic, and don't let me hit Nashville at 6 o'clock. And so getting to the goal of getting home or getting where we want to go, there's always going to be could be construction. One year I drove back on December 26th for practice that night and a Christmas party at my house. Came through Atlanta. I was driving a BMW because I had just been the head coach at Arkansas, and I was trying to keep up with the Joneses, and Coach Summit drove a Mercedes, and the Vanderbilt coach drove a fancy Lexus, and Landers drove a Hummer. So I'm sitting there in my BMW on 75, and my car gets totaled on 75. But I still had to get home for practice and the Christmas party, which was at my house. So I got home in a tow truck, but I still got home. And that was the goal, was to get home. And at the end of the day, that's just the goal, man. Sometimes there's road bumps, sometimes there's construction. But what I learned about that wreck on 75 was I bought a Toyota Highlander, which is an SUV. And I hate driving rental cars now because I feel much safer in that SUV. And I also come home on December 25th that night to avoid the traffic. So a life lesson was learned. And that's what life's all about, man. That's what life's all about, Hal. We're going to get there. We might be taking a different route than the 27-game winning streak, but we're going to get there one way or the other. Any questions?
How much buy-in from your players that have been here for that championship mentality? How much buy-in do you see from them, and how quick are they to jump on board with it's okay to take a different route in that sense?
Well, I've not told him that story. It's the first time Hout's heard that. Hout's only heard that story, so I don't know. Some of these questions, I'm very excited that Hout is here because I think some of these questions that you have for me really should be presented to the players, which is why I wanted to make sure we brought a player today. I would imagine there's only Amoria and Jaron that have been part of multiple championships. Hout's been part of one, so we don't have all that many players that have been a part of that. So I don't think there's any problem with Jaron and Amoria with that.
Is there a natural reset now that you guys get to a few days before conference play begins? And I know you mentioned the cliche 0-0, but is there a natural little reset for you guys to step back in a sense?
We only have 2 days to practice and prepare for them, so it's not like we're just going to talk about it. I mean, sometimes you don't need to talk about it, talk. Sometimes you talk too much, and it's just time to I think what I'm going to do is just say, okay, let's go. Follow me. Let's go. That's kind of where I'm at this morning with it.
Coach, as we've made this travel, as you described it to us in the non-conference, were there some games where you felt like we're going uphill, we're headed that way, and then take a step back, or has it just been a slow progression along the way?
I thought we played really, really well both games versus Florida Gulf Coast. They were both very different types of games. We scored a ton of points at home. They scored a ton of points at our place. But it was a competitive game against a very, very good basketball team. We go down there, and it's a defensive battle on both ends in a game and we could have won both games. Take a couple plays here and there from each quarter. We could have won both games. I felt very, very confident and positive going in. We talked before the game. Going into the Anderson game, I felt really like we're on the right path. But again, it came down to some we got a pretty good run when Angelina came in the game. We got ahead. We just had a really poor third quarter. I think we're having too many hiccups within the course of the game. We're not getting timely stops. We're not hitting timely baskets. But that's going to happen, and so. I feel, I'm not going to belabor the game yesterday. And that game yesterday is not going to define our whole existence. It happened, but are we going in the right direction? Absolutely, unequivocally.
Any other questions for Coach Gardner? Thank you, Coach.
All right, Erin Houpt. Erin was a native of Danville, Illinois, last year's SoCon Freshman of the Year. She's averaging 11.6 points a game, 32 of 76 on threes, and she's the nation's third best free throw shooter.
So we've had a lot of ups and downs in the preseason, but I think we're all really excited for a fresh start with SoCon starting this week. And like we said, we don't have a lot of players that have experience in the SoCon, but Coach Gardner has a lot of experience winning, so I have no doubt that she'll set us up for success.
What do you think is different between last year's team and now? She just mentioned only a few of you that are still, left over from that championship. What has the progression been like to kind of get everybody else on board, I guess?
I think last year there were a lot more returners that had experience with Coach Gardner and at Mercer, and I think this year we have a lot of new people, and they're really great players. We just have to adjust to playing together, and I think we've been getting better every day.
What are those chats like in the locker room, maybe without Coach, about, getting over that hurdle and taking a different route to get to where you guys were last
Yeah, we've had some tough times, but I think with that, like, it's brought us together more, and that's the good part about it. We haven't, like, gotten mad at each other or separated as a team, so I think, like, every time there's growth.
So here at conference time, in your mind as a player, what does that mean to you now, knowing this team has done very well in SoCon play, regular season and postseason? It's time now, conference time.
I'm just really excited for it personally because last year and previous years before I was here, there's a lot of success, so I feel like there's a standard set here, and I'm just excited to see how we can get there.
Any other questions for Erin? Okay, thank you, Erin. Appreciate it.
Thank you.